Jada Pinkett-Smith is the devil. She's ruining Tupac's legacy. She's ruining Will Smith's reputation and his hard-earned career. She's emasculating Will Smith. She's a narcissist. She gets off on manipulating people. She is ruining her family. Mwahahaha. I think too much. Today, baby, we are discussing Mrs. Jada Pinkett-Smith. If you are feeling the energy in today's video, you might want to check out Magic Mind. Magic Mind is full of all natural ingredients such as organic matcha to help give your energy a boost. There is a money back guarantee if you're not happy with your first order. So check out Magic Mind and use the code TINISHA20 to save up to 56% off your order. Jada Pinkett-Smith, baby, bless her heart. She has been under fire for a few years now with her Red Table Talk platform, the Alsina entanglement situation, her obsession with Tupac, and now she is catching all the smoke as she promotes her memoir, Worthy. Worthy is a roller coaster from the depths of suicidal depression to the heights of self-acceptance and spiritual healing. Worthy is a woman's journey to finding herself again. But unfortunately, the true purpose of the book is being overshadowed by the things that we're seeing in the media. Jada sold crack when she was younger. Tupac proposed to her in prison. She and Will Smith had been separated for several years, and she was surprised when he referred to her as his wife when he slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars. I know a lot of people are covering Jada Pinkett right now. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I do not think that anyone who has not taken the time to read her book should be judging her so heavily. With that being said, I have not read Jada Pinkett's book, and I also haven't read Will Smith's book. So I'm going to save my judgments and my criticisms about her book until I have the chance to do so. Quite frankly, I think it's a bit ridiculous to push this narrative that Will Smith is this hopeless little puppy. He is like a man-child. Jada emasculates him. He has no say-so. He can't think for himself because he's being so heavily manipulated. When we push these narratives on social media, that is actually a form of emasculating him, because you're basically saying that he doesn't have his own autonomy. He's so weak-minded, so fragile that his wife is taking over his whole life. He's miserable, but he won't leave the situation because he's just too weak to do so. We have known for years that Will and Jada have had an unconventional marriage. Granted, I don't think we really understood how unconventional it was, but now we're seeing that these things are coming to light because they're actually talking about it. And this actually brings me to my focal point of today. So I came across this post that said, Jada Pinkett-Smith and Will Smith prove marriage isn't what it used to be. And I thought the comments were very interesting. What it used to be, our ancestors or grandparents literally stayed together while infidelity, domestic violence, abuse, etc. was happening right in the home. This is exactly what marriage is. Marriage was never a fairy tale. Some people's grandparents have been together for 90 years, eat dinner at 4:30 p.m. sharp every day, then go to sleep in separate bedrooms. The only difference is they couldn't and wouldn't post it on social media. But marriage isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's whatever works for those two people. They didn't prove marriage isn't what it used to be. They proved that their marriage isn't what we all thought it was. Not all marriages are like this. I know plenty married couples who are choosing each other every day, and it's not easy all the time. They go through some things, but they are still intentional about choosing each other, even on the days they don't want to. From my perspective, it used to be really bad and you had to stay, which is what they are showing me. You don't have to stay in monogamous relationships if they don't serve you, and that doesn't mean y'all can't be friends or life partners. I understand most marriages may not operate the way that Will and Jada's do. But let's be real here. In today's society, we have such a romanticized viewpoint of what marriage is, what it entails, the work that goes into it. And I believe that this is happening because we are not used to witnessing marriages on a personal, everyday level. And so for a lot of us, when we think about marriage, we had to look at examples of marriage in the media to get an idea of what it truly meant to be a husband or be a wife. But the problem with looking at media examples of marriage is that you're often going to get a romanticized view. Most people are only going to publicly discuss the positive moments in their relationships. Most people are not going to give you the raw, dirty truth about the struggles that marriage entails. I recently made a video talking about how privacy is a foreign thing nowadays. People share so much of themselves on social media that privacy isn't really valued in the way that it used to be. And I may not agree with the way that Will and Jada share the intimate details of their relationship, because I personally wouldn't do so, right? I am a private person when it comes to my relationships, so that really just wouldn't be a thing for me. But I can respect the fact that it's a thing for them. One of the things that I have learned just by being transparent on my channel is that people don't really care about the dysfunction that occurs as much as they care about people vocalizing the dysfunction. For example, when people speak out about dysfunctional families, a common response that we'll hear is, well, you should keep that private. That should have been kept between you and your family. The concern is the fact that a person spoke up about it versus the fact that that dysfunction is happening in the first place. And I know a lot of you may not agree with this, but let me know what you think in the comments. A part of the reason why people get bothered by this so much, aside from the fact that they feel Jada's being disrespectful, is that people being open about the dysfunctions that occur in their marriage kind of kills the fantasy, right? The idea that we have of what a marriage should be based on what we've seen in the media, based on TV shows, fairy tales, based on the half-truths that we have heard from people who are married, who keep those details to themselves. One of the most common things that we hear is that relationships aren't lasting as long as our grandparents' relationships did. And every time I hear that, I kind of chuckle to myself, because people don't really understand the level of dysfunction, trauma, infidelity, disrespect that might have occurred in those relationships. You have husbands who were building whole families with their mistress down the street. You had wives who were having babies by the milkman, right? But they still stayed together. And some of those were those couples who last 20, 30, 40 plus years. A lot of couples don't even sleep in the same bed. They might not have any sort of romantic spark, but they're still staying together for the sake of their family, saving face, they have joint finances, whatever the case may be. And that is the reality of a lot of marriages. Everyone is saying how people give up on relationships too easily, but when we hear about situations like this, which, by the way, I will add that I think this is only being blown up the way it is because the wife is the one that is implementing this sort of dysfunction on the husband and not vice versa. But that's a conversation for another day. When we hear stories like that, we push for people to leave their partner. Why don't you just get a divorce? Why are you guys staying together? If we had that type of logic for every marriage, past and present, a lot of grandparents, great-grandparents wouldn't be together today. Either way, one of the things that I'm learning is that I should not heavily judge a situation that I have not experienced for myself. So for me, I have never had the experience of being married. A lot of the people who are heavily criticizing their marriage have never been married, can't even hold a healthy relationship. And so I think that we just need to understand that relationships are unique in the sense that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. What I will say is that no matter how many think pieces, case studies, live streams we see on the internet criticizing Jada for emasculating Will and disrespecting their marriage and bringing harm to their children, Will Smith has decided to stand by his wife. He has been in support of her book. Pretty sure he was with her along the way as she was writing the book. So I think that people just need to kind of stand back and stop pushing narratives that do not align with what Will and Jada identify with in terms of their marriage.